Namaste, everyone, and welcome to the Goddess of the Week. I am your goddess mentor, Anjali, and this week we're going to be offering Goddess Oshun. So I'm really excited. I really love getting into, how should I say, getting into gear, embodying, really, that's what it is, embodying each goddess as they come through the week. So I'm very grateful to have Oshun here with us today, channeled through my makeup and channeled through my dress wear as always. And just gonna wait for a few people to come on, and we're gonna get started. So I see there's like 1, 2, okay. So I'm just gonna start, and how do I how do I begin with Oshun? I had such a powerful week these past few days with her because she's known as the goddess of sweet water, which is fresh water. And fresh water is basically every single body of water that there is on land, specifically rivers and brooks and springs and mangroves and lagoons and any sort of water, I guess, that is not salt water but fresh water. She's the goddess of the water. She's also the goddess of love. She's the goddess of fertility. She's the goddess of sensuality. And she's really, really beautiful. Now, the thing is, interestingly, my crown today in honor of Oshun should be completely covered because it said she's so beautiful that she doesn't need to show herself, right? And I'm really kind of getting that right now, just wearing everything. So that's really fun. She's also the goddess of healing, and she's the goddess of divination. And one of the things that I channel through specifically when it comes to healing, it comes in a form of her, think of a river and the flow of a river and just the water just continuously flowing and pushing through all the blocks. Let's say, for example, in a river, you have all the sticks and the debris and the whatever that's sort of jammed up. And Oshun is just that infinite flow that keeps flowing, that when we allow it in our energy and in our being, she just helps us to flow through all of that stuff, all the emotional blockages and all the barriers and, just all the guck and the stuff that we hold in. And more so, she's also the goddess of weight loss. So if there's a few goddess sisters out there and brothers that are interested in shedding some weight, and weight for me, it's really interesting because it's something that I've been sort of yo-yoing back and forth ever since, I would say, as a teenager till now, just gaining the weight and losing the weight and gaining the weight and losing the weight. Now I'm in the process of releasing some more myself. So it's really amazing that Oshun's coming in and she's basically saying, Anjali, excess weight is when we're stuffing in things that we no longer need. So if we were to look at the river, which is our energy, which is our being, and then let's say the debris could be shame or guilt or anger. More so, it's always anger, just because in a society we're grown up specifically, I shouldn't say specifically because it happens to both men and women. We grow up in this society where anger is a really bad thing. Namaste, Jane. Nice to see you here. And we're told and we're taught to stuff our anger and to, hi Jane, to stuff our anger and don't express it because then we're a bad person. We need to be the good girl and the good guy and just stay in positive feelings, and we're somehow not allowed to express this anger, right? So Oshun, interestingly enough, she's an Orisha from the Yoruba West African tribe, and Orisha meaning deity or goddess in I would say modern day goddess. And it's really interesting because as much as she's very loving and compassionate and she's very beautiful and kind and she has so many gifts to offer with regards to healing and cleansing, emotional cleansing and fertility, especially for women. A lot of women go to Oshun when they're looking to conceive and to have a baby. For me, so it also, in retrospect, Oshun could also be someone you can go to when you want to create something new. If you have a new project or a new book or a new business, or like me with my Oracle deck that I'm currently working on. And Oshun gives us that energy. She gives us that flow, that stream of consciousness to just completely be limitless and to not block ourselves with frustration if things are not flowing the way we wanted to, or becoming angry because things are not happening in what we call divine timing. Sometimes for me, more so, I've always said, more so in my 20s, I would always say I was blessed with everything besides patience. So, but that's the cool thing of growing and evolving, not just in your human beingness, but also in your own spiritual evolution as a soul and becoming more self-aware and knowing yourself. So the Yoruba people, they have folklore, and the folklore is actually from the Oshe and it talks about Olodumare, who is the most highest in the Yoruban culture. And he sent all these orishas, which is all these gods and all these goddesses, to come create the earth. And so the major gods, or the ones that thought they were most important, three of them was Obatala, Shango, and Ogun. And so Obatala was known as the god of the clouds, and he created the clouds and the sky. And Shango was the god of lightning, and he breathed fire. All these things are necessary if we were to look at you know, our daily essential needs with the elements and how that actually sustains us. And Ogun was the wild man, and he was responsible not just for the forest and agriculture and all of that stuff. He was also there to teach the people of, you know, the mechanics of how to build things and make things. And so Oshun, she was just the goddess of the river. She was the goddess of the sweet water, the fresh water, in the lakes and the rivers and such. And the folklore goes that one of the gods came to her and said, you know, Oshun, you're not really that important. We don't really need you. And, you know, Oshun has a little bit of a temper too. So she's like, okay. Well, you know, in her mind, since you guys think I'm not important and you guys are more important, I'm just going to go off to the moon. So Oshun left the earth and she went to the moon. And she's there powdering her face because she knows she's beautiful. She knows she's important. She knows, right? And she's there powdering her face in the moon. And all of a sudden, all the rivers started drying up, and all the lakes started drying up, and all the streams started drying up. And then the gods realized they couldn't really do anything on the earth because there wasn't any water anymore. There wasn't any love anymore. And so the gods or the orishas in the Yoruba folklore, Namaste Valley, nice to see you here today. And in the Yoruban folklore, the orishas went to Olodumare, who is the most highest. He's the go-to god, right? And they said, well, we can't really continue building anything on earth. We can't do anything because, you know, we don't understand what's going on. So Olodumare is looking at all of them and he says, well, where is Oshun? And then the god said, oh, Oshun left. Somebody told her she's not important, so she's off to the moon. So Olodumare says to the orishas, I want you guys to go get Oshun and bring Oshun back. So Oshun comes down from the moon and she's there with all the gods and all the goddesses. And she explained to Olodumare, they said to me, I'm not important. They don't understand the importance of the goddess of the rivers and the goddess of sweet water and love and sensuality. They think the world can do without that. So I left. So Olodumare figured out what was going on and why they couldn't continue the evolution and the creation of the earth. So Orodumare, who is the most highest, he's, I would say in the equivalent to, let's say, the Greek culture, he's like the Zeus. He said to all the gods and all the goddesses, you guys need to apologize to Oshun. And only when you apologize to her, then she will descend upon the earth as the rivers and the lakes and the streams and give that water back and beauty back and life back to earth. And so Oshun, because she's the goddess of love and beauty and compassion, she decided to accept their apology. And so now we have rivers and streams and life, and we're all alive. And the message that Oshun really wanted to bring through today is, and more so because I spent most of my afternoon today, and I'm very fortunate to be living in the city of Toronto and having a river run right by my home. So I'm very grateful for that. And I went into the river today, and I brought my offering of cowrie shells and honey and some flowers, and pulled up my leggings and went into the river, and just basically thanking Oshun for being here and just looking at the currents flowing in the river and knowing that is Oshun. And so I said my prayer, and I gave her the offering of the honey and the cowrie shells and the flowers, and asked for her blessings before I came tonight to do our Goddess of the Week. And it was really interesting because it's really uncanny sometimes that we have experiences, and for whatever reasons they're blocks that we don't remember them. And I did not remember this for a very long time until Oshun pointed that out to me today. And she's like, honey, you know, you've been playing in the river since you were a child, which is true. Because most of you all know I was born and grew up in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. And so it's a cultural thing in Trinidad. We have this very famous river that's called the Cora River. And that's where families go, and they go to swim, and they go to play and hang out. And some families do cooking there, and they feed everybody, and we have a beautiful time there. And so she started showing me as a child how curious I was when I spent all that time in the river. You know, I would pick up all the little snails and put them in my little cup. And sometimes I'd see a bunch of tadpoles and, like, you know, dip my little cup in and look at the tadpoles. And I was always a curious little kid. So it was really beautiful for me to see that connection with Oshun and her being in my life since I was a child. And for a lot of you that aren't really aware of the history of Trinidad and Tobago, for me, my background being East Indian, I'm a descendant of the indentured laborers, or really blunt term would be the paid Indian slaves of the Caribbean back in 1845. And the Indians actually came because the African slaves who were actually taken from Africa and what's known as the triangular trade, and they were traded for tobacco and sugarcane and all these different things. And so a lot of those slaves didn't just go to America. A lot of them are in, like, the Caribbean islands, like Cuba, and specifically to me in Trinidad and Tobago. So I grew up with all the mothers, and the mothers would be the spiritual head of the Orisha faith and the Shango Baptist traditions in my country. And where I lived in the village, there was a spiritual school where they would practice, and they would do all the drumming and singing and such. So I'm very fortunate to have been able to grow up into a multicultural country, and to have all these multicultural goddesses that's been with me even way longer than I've even known. So let's see, I'm just looking through my notes. So as always, one of the things that I like to do is to share the symbolism of each goddess of the week, this goddess being Oshun. And so Oshun symbols, if you want to work with her, if you want to connect with her, more so Oshun is like the love goddess. She would be the equivalent of Venus or Aphrodite as such. And so a lot of women pray not just to conceive and to have children, but they also go to Oshun to fulfill their wish of finding true love. Namaste, Dee. Nice to see you. I'm so delighted you're here. And so her symbols are foremost, and this is where I've created the crown in honor of Oshun. It's the cowrie shells. The cowrie shells are very, very important. If you've ever seen a cowrie shell, I'm just going to point to this one here. The opening of it actually looks like a vagina, right? So a yoni, as they say in Eastern philosophy. So the vagina or the cowrie shell actually represents femininity and fertility, but also if we were to go back in the day before actual physical money and coins were created, cowrie shells were actually used as money. It was used for trade, and it was also used, the women would like adorn their hair and wear the necklaces and wear a lot of cowrie shells to symbolize wealth and to symbolize beauty and to be connected to Oshun, right? So another thing she wanted me to kind of really touch on, when you think of Oshun, you're not just think about rivers and streams and lakes and such. Oshun is the water you shower with and you have a bath with. Oshun is the water that you drink. Like, this is so important. And so, including myself and all the goddess sisters and brothers, Oshun was just kind of like, drink more water, because I have a really bad habit sometimes where I just, you know, in my creative space and doing my life and hanging out with my family and my girls and my projects, I would just go for coffee or go for tea, not so much intaking the water. And so she's basically saying, it's sort of a ritual thing, which I've actually been doing for the last few days, is literally seeing the water as Oshun and blessing your water and drinking your water and understanding without this water you have no life, you know. Another one of her her symbols besides the cowrie shell is honey, and I've been actually eating a lot of honey this week too, and the cool thing about it, another symbol too, is the tangerines. Honey, tangerines, yams, sweet potato, pumpkin, these are the kind of things that she loves. And so earlier this week I was eating a tangerine and I had this profound spiritual experience. I'm just gonna flip my screen up here because there was something notification that came up. And in just peeling the tangerine and understanding the pulp, the juice of the tangerine, if we were to look at the water from the river and then the tree absorbing it and then basically creating this beautiful fruit for you to eat and nourish yourself, right? And that is Oshun. She's also, when we talk about the goddess of sweetness and you think about the nectar and flowers and such, Oshun was also showing me as a child, and this is this was my childhood, you know, running around in the grass, running around in the flowers, or as we like to say, in the bush, down in the Caribbean. Lots of nature down there. And I would just, you know, sit there as a child and pick these flowers and pull the little stems out and just suck on all the nectar. And that's Oshun. She's the nectar. She's the sweetness of life, right? And then another symbol of hers are bees and butterflies, yellow roses. And for me specifically, and that's why you could see on the crown as well, her favorite number is the number 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 butterflies. The cowrie shells are in 5 as well. And she loves the color yellow. She loves gold. She loves to adorn herself. Oshun comes in to remind us, even today, just getting dolled up. And it was really, really hard for me this week because, you know, in our own little world, we think we're taking care of ourselves. Or at least I thought I was taking care of myself. And she's like, Angelie, as much as you're taking care of yourself, honey, it's not up to goddess standard. And I'm sitting there and almost wanting to cry and realizing the truths that she was revealing to me, you know, and the pleasure of having a shower and doing your nails and putting oils in your hair. And specifically for me, I love using cocoa butter because cocoa butter comes from, you know, the trees, and it's more natural than, say, generic chemical lotions and stuff. And slathering yourself in cocoa butter and just, you know, I'm really loving the Oshun energy because she's really helping me to draw in all these like lavish, sexy, beautiful, elegant qualities. And for a lot of us, sometimes we forget all of everything we want to feel. It's already inside of us. Nothing is outside of us. And so for me, and this is something I'm yet to master, the balance of it, because I love to give and I love to share and I love to be there for my friends and my family and my clients and my kids, and just, you know, and giving and giving and giving. And Oshun's like, hello, honey, as much as it's pleasurable to give, we all, inclusive of myself and my brothers and sisters, we all need to be more aware and more conscious of deeply loving and taking care of ourselves by giving ourselves that time to nurture ourselves and adorn ourselves and make ourselves beautiful, right? Because if we don't do that, if we don't take the necessary steps to work on our body and work on our health and work on all the things that we want to feel, nothing on the outside is not going to make that happen. And let me guarantee you this, I've learned that the hard way. Everything is about self-care and self-love. Need to up my game of self-care for sure. Definitely, Jane. And this is what Oshun's talking about. And she's basically coming here and saying, you know, this is the weight loss solution that a lot of people take for granted. Again, the same way we take the water we drink for granted, and the water we have our showers and bath with for granted, and the rivers and the streams by polluting it and not really giving two shits about it. Eventually, if we don't start appreciating ourselves and our earth, there's not really going to be, and I shouldn't really say there's not going to be an earth to live in, because as Oshun says, like the earth, Mother Earth, does not need us humans, because that's the way we kind of approach the earth, right? Like humans, we're the dominant species and we can do whatever the fuck we want and there's no consequences for it. And Oshun is basically saying, hey, you know, this is why there's earthquakes, and this is why there's tsunamis, and this is why all the volcanoes are erupting, because Mother Earth needs to rebalance herself. So every time we're going off and doing things and not really giving, you know, care to the environment and to others, to our brothers and sisters, and it's just all about me, 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 and not really looking at the consequences. And the funny thing too about it, that we, as humanity, need to understand is the fact that all these material things we're destroying the earth to possess, it's not even ours, because when our spirit releases from this body and goes back into what I call our real home, which is heaven or paradise or nirvana or the other side, whatever you want to call it, we're not taking anything, you know, we're absolutely not taking anything. So crystals, if you want to work with the goddess Oshun and you want to bring in some more love for yourself and you want to feel more beautiful and you want to be more sexy or feel more sexy, if you're looking to conceive, you're like to have an addition to your family or your first baby, or even your baby being a project or some new venture that you would love blessings for it to be successful and fertile and for it to thrive, Oshun can definitely empower you with that. Crystals that she loves to work with is citron, imperial topaz, amber, and let me just check on my list. Okay, I got them. So it's citron, imperial topaz, amber, and her metals are gold and brass. We need to learn to not let other people circumvent the process of self-care. Exactly, right? And that's basically the funny thing about it. And this is why I love that the goddess culture is really rising, not just with myself, but other goddess teachers out there that are coming together and banding together and really sharing the stories of the goddess and really sharing the energy of the goddess. And for me, more so, I love the fact that I use all my skill sets, which is my craftiness and creation, because being from Trinidad and Tobago, we have carnival, so we wear all these very big, bold carnival costumes to be able to use my spiritual gifts, to be able to channel and bring you guys this information as well. So self-care, self-love, always, and this is the whole thing, right, is that we're all here as souls. Doesn't matter all the lessons and the karma and the past life and the soulmate and all these different lessons. If we were to go to the source and we were go to the essence, every single thing that happens to us, it doesn't matter good, bad, or ugly. It's all basically moving us in this dance. And Oshun loves dancing as well and celebrating. Life is a dance. And it's all taking us to one profound experience. We're all looking for one thing, and that one thing is basically feeling divine unconditional love for ourselves. Like, that's it. Hey goddess, apologies. That's okay. Zoe, I am so honored and happy and grateful you're here. And Zoe should know that since the day I've met Zoe, I've always said, you're Oshun, you're Oshun. You always remind me of Oshun. And Zoe, I truly 100% believe that you are a child of Oshun with your love and your beauty and just your grace and just that energy. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And so for me, really this week, as I said, the energies that came through was for us to focus on self-love, for us to focus on self-care, for us to have a deeper awareness of the importance of fresh water on our planet and how important that is. Another thing with Oshun that she brought up, because she's also the goddess of sensuality and sexuality, and for every goddess, especially the women here, our power is our sensuality. Our power is our sexuality. And for many, many, many years, hundreds of years, especially when the patriarchal system came in, I believe, this is what I believe they understood the power that a woman had, being beautiful and sensual and sexual and, just politics, wars, all these things has happened over the love of a woman, right? So we've been taught for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, shame on your sexuality, hide your sensuality, don't be too beautiful, just be plain, just be normal, just, status quo, don't show yourself up, don't shine. For a woman that's in her sensuality and in her sexuality, you're a whore, you're a slut. Like, it's the madness. And for me, when I think of Oshun with sensuality and what we've done with sensuality, it's almost like sensuality being that river, being the fresh water, being the sweet water, the water of life that gives life. Not just to us humans, but as I said, to the little tadpoles that I used to play with, the frogs and the little snails and all the fishes. And what we've done is we've just polluted the river. We've thrown all this plastic, all this garbage, all this shit, and it's like, that's it. We don't really care about rivers. We don't really need rivers. Asking for trouble. D, you're so funny. And so one of the things that I really wanted to share, and this is a really tough one, but for me, I love using my life experience just to be able to share, what it would be like from my side of things. And for most of you, you all would know that I am a survivor of sex trafficking, and it and Oshun was basically saying that, you know, when we're not grateful for sensuality and what society has done and what the patriarchal system has done to sensuality and to a woman's power, which is her essence of love and wanting to give love and share love and express love, when it's not treated and respected, then what we have is things like sex trafficking, where women are now seen as a commodity. Women are now seen as ways to make money. I mean, I've been in situations where my passport was taken away, all my papers were taken away. I was completely scared, you know, very broken little girl, because at that point I was already raped by my dance teacher. So my sense of self-worth and my sense of value and sense of self-love and everything was completely shattered. And unfortunately, there are people out there that prey on women like that, that are not in that power, and basically drag them into situations where they're now used for profit instead of being used, I shouldn't say used, but instead of being enjoyed for pleasure and for love and for procreation, right? D is the goddess of laughter. Yes, you are. Uzume is the goddess of laughter. And you too, D, when I see you, you're Uzume. And I'm so fortunate and I'm so grateful for all the beautiful goddess sisters and goddess brothers that I have in my life, because the goddesses manifest themselves in so many faces in my life that I'm so fortunate to be able to connect and play with you guys. So sexuality is another one that we need to focus on. I hope I can hear the crickets going, because this is such a, you know, and for me, I don't really like to look at myself so much as controversial. I prefer to look at myself as an unconventional teacher, but really conventional, because this is the reality, because so many of us are living in the illusion, right? Which is what we were taught and which is what we were programmed to do, and that's perfectly fine until you find out the truth. And then you're able, and that is basically my philosophy with my teachings, is the more that you know is the more that you're gonna grow. So for example, Oshun would want to say to you guys, when was the last time you've pleasured yourself? Or when we think about self-pleasure with sensuality and sexuality, some people are like, oh my God, no. I know in the Indian culture, for me growing up as a child, at least what I've observed is, you know, sex is not something that you talk about or you share about. Mothers would basically say to daughters, when you get married, your husband will show you what he likes. Your job is to please him, and that's basically it. Your pleasure means nothing. It's just serving the other people and serving everybody else, whether it's your husband or your boyfriend or your fiance or even like a lover, right? So we really need to pay focused, we need to pay attention and focus this week on your receiving. How am I receiving pleasure in my life today or for the rest of the week? Or how am I receiving love? Oshun is a goddess. She's not just gonna go to a lover. You have to woo her. You have to romance her. You have to let her know how beautiful she is and how gorgeous she is, and you know, and then she'll think about it. Because what Oshun really wants to see is the lover or the husband or the boyfriend or the fiance, that they're bringing that love to her. They're not gonna take from her as if she's a commodity. They're gonna bring their love to her and offer their love to her and understand the precious gift of pleasure, right? I was just going to say, according to Goddess Angeli, I am the goddess Uzume. And you know what? And I said it live, D. That is truth. That is my truth, and I stand by it. You're just so awesome. And I'm excited for Uzume to come through for Goddess of the Week, because that would be really fun. So as much as this is a lot, right? It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in, because there are a lot of sisters and brothers walking around this planet not in the job they love, not in the relationship that they truly desire, or they can be in the relationship, but they're not focused on loving each other and the sweetness that comes from not just taking care of yourself, but taking care of the other person and loving the other person, right? Most of us, been waiting with bated breath for her to join. Sorry. Oh, yes, Dee, totally. Well, I am sure, and that's the thing, Dee, about all these goddesses. It's divine timing, and as Oshun says, sometimes we don't get what we want, but we always get what we need. And this goes to one of the things about Oshun as well, is she is the goddess that, again, the goddess of divination, and she's also the goddess that grants wishes or fulfills wishes. So and for me, it was really important because in the river today, after I was done making my offering and praying, I sat down and I did some journaling with Oshun. And one of the things she really, really wanted me to share with everyone, her being the goddess of wishes fulfilled, is if we can all learn how to love ourselves, treasure ourselves, adorn ourselves, make ourselves feel so beautiful and so sexy and so awesome, and all these things that we want to feel that we think is so far away or never gonna happen because we're too old or too fat or that time's gone, or we've got hurt so many times, or whatever the garbage is, it's time to push that out with Oshun and let the love flow in. And not just let the love flow in into your life, but also let the love flow out. Because a lot of us, brothers and sisters too, if we're not feeling the love coming in, we don't really do a lot of things wholeheartedly or with the sweetness of love. We'll just do it to get by, or we'll just do it for the paycheck, or we'll just do it so people like us, or whatever it is, right? So this is about really deep, genuine love for ourselves and appreciating and cherishing ourselves. Like Oshun, one of her symbols is the mirror, right? So she's always on the mirror powdering her face because she understands she's beautiful. She understands that she is enough. And that's one of the things that she wanted to share. And she said, to me and to share to all of you, if we can walk around every single day knowing that every single thing that we wish for is going to be fulfilled, what is our life going to be like? Just imagine that. Because a lot of us, when we look at the world of learning, a huge thing now is the law of attraction and manifesting, right? And a lot of us manifest from the space of, well, I'll just settle for this because maybe the dream guy I want doesn't exist or wouldn't love me, or the dream job that I want, maybe I'm not good enough for it, or the dream success that I want, the worldly success that I want to achieve. Well, I don't have a certificate for it. And all that stuff is bullshit. That's just all the human stuff. And, Oshun gets it because she's a goddess. She is not interested in all the frivolous human stuff, because she already knows she's enough. She already knows that she's beautiful and she has her power and she has the ability to go forth and to be able to basically get whatever it is that she wants, right? So she said to me, just imagine, and I'm posing this to you all, just imagine a life where you get up every single day knowing that everything that you desire with your heart, not with your ego, by the way, because a lot of us want things because, hey, this power and this status and, these amount of likes or these amount of sales or whatever my bank account says, all these things are going to make me feel whatever, and it's not. Right? That's just the ego, and the ego is coming from the place of I am not enough. But the goddess in you, and this is for my sisters and for my brothers, the goddess in you, that's in you, the infinite supply, already knows, that she's enough. I'm getting hiccups. I'm just going to have a drink of water here, which is Oshun, by the way. So this is really cool. So basically, as I said, I'm just honored like just completely honored and in gratitude to put these out, to put these videos out, and to share these stories with you guys, and to share these messages. We are taught to settle for less from time to time. We are so small. And that's the ego. That's the ego. That's the stuff moms told us, and dads told us, and society's told us. And for me, I love to look at myself as a really good example that wishes do come true. And I mean, if we look at my past, from being molested as a 9-year-old, and then being raped at 16, 15 and a half, 16, then basically getting sucked into sex trafficking. When we look, or I should say when society, right, and this is the thing where it comes back with Oshun and the story of Oshun, that, you know, we don't really need her. She's not that important. We're the more important ones because we have these. She's not that important because that's perspective. And my heart goes out to, and a huge part of my work is that I hope that a lot of girls, because I know there are, I shouldn't even say a lot of girls too, because I know a lot of men in my life that have been raped and have been molested and have been in the sex industry and have so much guilt and shame around that, especially the way that society views, you know, that, how should I say it? Society views that kind of people, right? And for me, my success story is, hey, you know, if I can get molested and I can get raped and I can be stripped of my goddess and be stripped of, you know, my sensuality and my essence and my love and all of these things, because I was completely traumatized when that happened, and then think, I'm trash. Nobody's gonna want me, especially being in the sex industry. And I remember, and this is the thing, and you know, God sends angels into your life, and then the goddesses come through, say for example with me or other teachers out there, or you will run into somebody that has the information. And I remember when years ago, this was over a decade ago, I remembered a lady that said to me, an older woman that said to me, you know, honey, you can do something more with your life. Not because this is how it is, which was basically me at that time being a drug addict. I had just come out of being a professional dominatrix because I didn't like the idea of like spanking and hurting people. And then I'm like, okay, well, I can do something a little bit more gentle, which would be being a call girl. And so at that time, I was a drug addict and a call girl, thinking this was my life. You know, I'm not going to find love. I'm not going to have kids. And my wish ever since I was a teenager was to fall in love and, you know, have children and have a family and live happily ever after. And I think that's what we all really desire too, is to find love and to be in love and to enjoy life. And so for me, I thought my life was over. I had no clue back then this is where I would be and here sharing with all of you. And I remember her saying, you know what, honey, you're really smart. Like, you can get out of this. There's life outside of this for you. And I couldn't understand that because I thought I was condemned. I thought this is what life gave to me. This is where I am. And of course, you know how society looks at you, you know, with all this shame and all this guilt for being in that profession at that time. And so with that, just that little encouragement, she opened up my consciousness into, you know what, maybe there is. And so we're fast forwarding later after meeting so many spiritual teachers and so many guides and having so many mentors myself when I was a newbie or a novice. And fast forwarding over a decade now, and I'm in love. I have 2 beautiful girls. I have beautiful home. I have the goddesses. I have my goddess back, if you want to put it that way. I'm proud of myself. I love myself. And it's really tough for even a lot of us who haven't even gone through extreme things, such as myself, to love yourself and take care of yourself and take the time to take care of yourself. Stripped of dignity and self-respect. That's true, D, and that's what happens. And this is why it's so important for me. And you all will notice most of the goddesses, their essence is sensuality, and it is their sexuality, because that is our power. Our power is this very soft. And when you think about attracting is not pushing out and forcing things to happen. Attracting is pulling it in and bringing it in. And you do that with the love for yourself, because then you start radiating this love and emitting this love, and people pick up on that. I like to say, this is just me with my unconventional ways of teaching. And I like to say, when you're in love with yourself and you have a healthy sense of love for yourself, it's like perfume. When you put on a nice perfume and people walk around and they smell you and they come to you, and it's like, wow, oh my God, you look so good, you smell so good. And then when you don't love yourself, you don't take care of yourself, you're running off after everybody, running off after everything, and you're completely depleted. It's like somebody farting in the room. Nobody wants to be next to that person. They're all just running away, right? So I hope that's not too much, but I love teaching it like this because it's just so simple and everybody understands it, right? Especially for me being in the spiritual community, where everybody thinks, oh, well, I'm now spiritual, so I have to be appropriate. And it's like, we are spirits. We are all gods and goddesses walking on this earth. Like, everybody breathes, everybody eats, everybody takes a poop, everybody farts. Kind of like a shark. Exactly, right? So, and this is the thing. It's like, when we're all looking for this stuff, and I get that, because, you know, I've been through so much different healing techniques, you know, with Chios energy healing, working with the angels and becoming an angel therapist and an angel therapy medium, and, you know, law of attraction, advanced law of attraction coach. And it's all fun when we're studying all these different things. But for some reason, including myself, and I've seen a lot of people, observe a lot of people around me, we get sucked into it thinking, oh, well, we have to be like this and we have to be like that. And we just need to be us. All these teachings are just here to give us information. As I said, my philosophy is the more you know, the more you grow, right? And so the more we know, the more we grow. But some of us get derailed where we start following certain people. Like, well, if this person like this, then I need to be that. So when I'm that, then I'll be good, or I'll be whatever it is that person has. And the only thing we're here to do, that we're obligated to do, our sacred duty, is to be absolutely, completely authentic. And for me, my sacred path is to help, as I said, a lot of sisters and a lot of brothers to heal their sacred sensuality and to heal all the sexual crap that's happened, in order to get that love and to get that value, self-love and self-value, to be able to go out to the world, to be able to go out to Mother Earth and say, I am enough. I deserve everything that I truly desire, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt all my wishes will be fulfilled. And that's the beautiful thing we don't understand. The universe wants us to succeed. The universe wants us to thrive. And the illusions is what everybody else thinks, right? So coming back to Oshun this week, it's about, for the weight loss, because I like to call her the weight loss goddess, adding more water. That's something that's so simple, that a lot of people take for granted, including myself sometimes. So it's about now bringing in our consciousness and bringing in our awareness into, okay, water is life. our body is made up with like, I think 80 or 85% of our body is like water as well, right? And so we get sucked in, and myself sometimes too, you know, when you see all the blinking lights for like McDonald's or like the keg or like Applebee's or coffee or ice caps and all these different things. And the thing is, like, water should be your most favorite drink, especially for the people that want to release weight. If I guarantee you, if you start including a liter, just at least a liter of water into your everyday, it's going to make a phenomenal difference. I've actually seen that where I drink a lot of coffee and tea, and then my face starts getting really ashy and dry, and then I start getting really cranky, and then I start drinking water, and all of a sudden I'm glowing and my skin's glowing and I'm feeling all gorgeous and I'm feeling really good, right? We do not ask, then the divine spirit goddesses do not know what we desire or need. Actually, they know. It's kind of like a mother knows. The goddess, Mother Earth, is our mother. She created us. So every wish and desire we have in our heart, she's actually placed that in us. We're here to fulfill those things. But again, as I said, just the way we're programmed to think like a human, and you can only have this and you can only have that and you can only be this and you can only be that, or spirituality should look this way, and you know, sexuality should look this way. And for me, my sacred service is basically pulling in sexuality and pulling in spirituality and combining them together, because those are the two most powerful things on the planet, right? It's basically our getting to know ourselves, our true selves, our energy and our being and who we are, and being able to connect with people and mate with people and merge with people as well. So just recapping, and I'm just really feeling Goddess Oshun in me right now. And for her, the most important thing is take care of yourself. You're absolutely precious. You're absolutely beautiful. Sorrow is something that you can just leave in the past. If you need help, like the universe, they have everything to support us. All the gods, all the goddesses, all the angels, all the guides, all the ascended masters, all the beings, they're all there. But we're programmed to just do everything on our own, and we think that's it, right? And when you ask, you will receive. A lot of us have issues with receiving because for whatever reason, it's normally always unworthiness and not enoughness. And that's something I've been actually looking at myself, because it was something I was programmed as a child. It didn't matter if I came first or if I was like 92% or I was an A student, it was never good enough. There was 100, and because I didn't get 100, it wasn't good enough. So, you know, these are all these little things. And I understand my mother. My mother was just pushing me to be 100, but she wanted me to be 100 all the time. So love you, Mom, but I am enough. I am enough exactly where I am with what I'm doing and what I'm creating, and trusting yourself. And that goes for you too, as well. So one thing I'm going to do, I have my cards here, and I love to offer, along with the Goddess of the Week, I like to offer a little bit of Goddess Care. And Goddess Care therapy is basically healing with the goddess. So again, the Mother Earth is there, we're there, and we want all these things, we want all these wishes fulfilled. Specifically, we're looking at Mother Earth through the face of Oshun. And she wants us to fall in love with ourselves, to feel beautiful, do beautiful things, and have everything we want. But there is a law, and the law is, and this goes for angels, guides, goddesses, gods, all ascended masters, and all beings of all levels of light, there is free will. So as much as they're there to help us, they can look at us for days, for weeks, for months, for years, for decades. Some of us even die and come back and die and come back and die, and we still don't ask. So I'm encouraging everybody today. It doesn't matter what it is, your wishes, and what you want to have fulfilled. I'm going to be asking Goddess Oshun to ask us, and this is where the Goddess Care Healing is. What do we need to be aware of? How can we heal our ability to know that we are beautiful enough and we are powerful enough and that we are worthy and we are deserving, and to take care of ourselves and to build a life that we truly desire? And I'm just going to choose a card from the Doreen Virtue Goddess Guidance deck. I've been using this deck since 2008. This is my go-to deck. Unfortunately, Oshun is not in this deck, but she will be in mine, and very honored to have her in. And just basically share some healing for everyone this week that's on the live and who's going to be watching the recording. This is all for you. On what do you need to know this week in order to receive, oh my God, and I've had 1, 2, 3 cards. 2 fell to the floor and 1 flipped out. So I think there's a lot the goddesses want to say. And so the first goddess is the goddess Maeve, and she's the Celtic goddess, and she's the goddess of cycles and rhythms. And so for Maeve is basically honoring your cycle, honoring your emotions. Your emotions is actually represented by water, and this water is Oshun, and it's about emotional clearing. And so again, where we come back with the weight, I was talking about the excess weight. Excess weight, more so besides shame and guilt, is always a lot of anger. And anger we feel that we don't have the right to, because we're taught to stuff it down and be the good girl. Don't say what you really want to say. Just be nice all the time and just eat all the anger. Eat it, right? So Mauve is basically saying, okay, goddess sisters and brothers, this week, if you're angry, acknowledge you're angry. Whatever your emotion is, it's just, this too shall pass. It's only a phase, right? It's only an emotion, and emotions can be washed away. And so the healing here is, if you're happy, be grateful for the happiness. If you're sad, be grateful for the sadness. If you're angry, be grateful for the anger, and understand that it doesn't make you a less than person or a bad person or whatever crazy stuff people say out there, only because they want to control us all to behave in a certain way for them to feel good about themselves, but they have to work on their stuff. The other goddess that popped up, which is one of my favorite goddesses, and she's been with me for a very long time, is the goddess Athena. And the goddess Athena is about inner wisdom. And she says here, you know what to do. Trust your inner wisdom and take appropriate action today. So normally in a goddess care healing session, I would go more in depth, and we would call in Athena, and Athena will bring you messages, and we would go through a healing for whatever you need to release or whatever you need to include into your energy, into your lifestyle, to be able to give you that, to get your wishes fulfilled, right? And so Athena is basically saying here, as you go through the week, I know, you know, when you just know, but you don't know how you know, but you know, even though people tell you you don't know, but you know, you need to follow that knowing. That's your inner goddess. That's your inner wisdom. I know I need to drink a glass of water right now. Let's keep it that simple, okay? And that's the message that Athena wants you to know when it comes to your self-care. The more you listen to your inner goddess or your inner wisdom or your intuition, which is basically the language and the voice of your true self, it's the more you're gonna love yourself. For me, example, and I love using myself as examples because I have a lot of examples. For me, there's sometimes I would meet someone and I just know, okay, you know what, but then there's a nice girl in me and it's like, no, I need to be nice to everybody. And all of a sudden you go into the situation and then this person reveals this part of themselves and it's like, oh my God, I knew it. That's Athena. So listen to your knowing. She really wants everyone to focus on that as well. And the third goddess that came through for us this week with Oshun, with helping us to basically acknowledge our beauty and to get into that state of enoughness, is Ishtar, who is also a favorite goddess of mine. And Ishtar is about boundaries. And she says, love yourself enough to say no to others' demands on your time and energy. And this really blends in with Oshun. And just to let you guys know, Ishtar is very, very sacred to me. And I didn't connect the dots until I would say a few years ago. But Ishtar came to me way back over a decade ago when I was a drug addict and I was a call girl. And in studying Ishtar throughout the years and understanding Ishtar now with the wisdom that I have, she is actually the patroness goddess of sacred prostitutes. So as I said, I'm bold and brave to share my story and to talk about these things. I know there's a lot of sisters and brothers that are still dealing with a lot of anger towards themselves and shame and guilt towards themselves. It doesn't have to be to the extent of being a call girl like myself back in the day, but it could just be messing around and being promiscuous or having multiple lovers or whatever it is. And if there's that guilt and shame around your sexuality, which is what Oshun is talking about, your sensuality, your beauty, and your sexuality is your most greatest power. And that's why in this society, sex sells. Unfortunately, the type of sex that's being sold is for commodity. It's so disrespectful instead of putting it in a way that it's actually sacred and it's actually understood by the masses, the real true sacred power of it, instead of just selling the shell, so to speak, you know. So there we go. I've had so much fun. As I said, I know this is a lot. I highly encourage, if you resonate with this video this week, to please rewatch. One of the things that I love to do that's really taught me back in my student days is repetition, right? So I would look at videos over and over and over and take notes constantly and just kind of observe how that plays out for the next week in your life as well. So thank you everybody for joining in tonight. I had a blast dressing up. I had a blast channeling the makeup and channeling Oshun here tonight and sharing her messages with everyone. And remember, take care of yourself, love yourself, get in touch with your sensuality and your sexuality. Look for creative ways to not just pleasure yourself, but if you're in a relationship, in the relationship as well, be able to speak up. Don't be angry about certain things. Be bold to speak up on what it is you really want, what it is you really desire, what it is you wish to experience, not just to the people around you, but most importantly to your inner goddess, to the angels, to God, or the gods, I like to say, because there are so many of them. And as always, if you've loved this video and you would love to work with the goddesses, you would probably like to understand your inner goddess and how it relates to your path and your journey, I am your goddess mentor. So feel free to go over to www.angelidavy.com. I do have single healing sessions and I also have mentoring packages as well. And feel free to go into the website, read up about my story, and I'm looking forward to serving a lot of you because I'm having so much fun doing this, and I love working with people that are just open-minded and ready for a new exciting adventure. So good night everybody, take care, love you all, namaste.